and welcome to Administrator Summit 2021, adding knowledge and value to your firm. I am Josh Madera, and I will be your host for this second day of the summit. Yesterday, we were fortunate enough to have three great speakers. We had Gina De Lapa yesterday talking about going from burning out to breaking through. Then we had Natalie Sherrod talk about evolving cyber risk. And we also had Jim Ponder with leadership from the roof of Africa. We had a great time. Thank you for everyone who sent their messages and their comments with the feedback. We're happy that you liked it, and we're happy that you enjoyed the work that we're putting in for this summit. Today, it's going to be something special as well. Now, before we move into what we're going to be talking about and the speakers for today, I just want to mention again and give thanks to our sponsor, Entera Cloud, who helped get this started and put this together. So here's a little bit about Entera Cloud so you know who they are and what they do. So thank you, Entera Cloud, for all your support, and that's how we came up with this idea. Entera Cloud works really, really close with the administrators for the law firms. They're the point of contact, and we got a chance to see up close all the challenges that happen in that position. And we figured out this would be a great way to connect, to add value, to build new relationships. And that's how that idea evolved into Administrator Nation. Administrator Nation started with a couple of live networking events for law firm administrators, and then it moved to a podcast that we've been doing with everything that happened with COVID. We decided that would be a good idea and a good way of staying connected through this. And we've done many episodes. We've done some live events. No live events. Everything's been online. But this is the first real push and effort to do something so special like this summit. So if you get a chance, go to administratornation.com. You're going to get more information. That's a special group, a special community. It's completely free where you can ask questions, share information, and grow your network as well. So if you get a chance, make sure to visit our website or our social media. Now, what do we have stored for today? Well, we're going to have two great speakers participating. One is going to come up right now, and then the second talk today is going to be at 3:40. At 3:40 p.m. is going to be when we will have our second speaker for today. So you want to stay tuned and connected for that. So let's start, and let's get started with today's first speaker. He's an expert in high-stake and crisis communication. As a best-selling author of a book on leadership and crisis communication. The name of the book is Leaders Under Fire. He's been called by clients around the globe to calm upset stakeholders, build trust, and help his clients return to profitability. He works with good companies that need help telling the truth in order to end negative headliners and erase bad publicity. With his title, 5 Secrets to Managing Crisis and Turning Them into Opportunities, please welcome Jeff Chatterton.
Thank you, Josh. It's fun. I'm excited to be here. I'm just going to do a little bit of quick maintenance here, and through the magic of technology, I am going to do this just to make it a little bit easier for everyone to see along. This is 5 secrets to turning crises into opportunities, but I'm actually going to start by taking this in a little bit of a different direction. In fact, with your permission, I'm going to show you 5 secrets my clients use to get their ideas heard, bring home the biggest possible salary, land on the fast track for promotion, all those really good things. And we're going to do it all without sucking up, without having to, kiss up to the boss, be someone you're not. We're going to bring this all together. There's a ton of change happening across society in a post-pandemic world, and a lot of change that's about to happen. So here's the deal. Stick with me. I will bring this all together for you, I promise. It's going to be game-changing for you. So let's talk about promises. There's a lot of material. I want to tell you what we have in store. First off, I'm going to show you how to make a lot more money. Like I said, for some of you, that may be 6 figures. For some of you, that's multiple 6 figures, because frankly, right now, I'm going to go out on a limb and say you're not getting paid as much as you deserve, and we want to fix that. I want to get you the recognition that you deserve. So when a decision needs to be made, you're the first one to get contacted. You become the go-to person, the resource. You're at the top of the list. People want to know what you think about the most important issues facing the firm. We're going to set it up so that when they have conversations about who are our absolute rock star indispensable employees, it's your name that always comes up to the top of that list. We're going to put you on the fast track for promotion. We want to make it so that when a position opens up, there's only one name on that list. You have your choice of assignments within the firm. If you can actually make this work for you, we want you to be able to write your own ticket. So stay with me. We got about 40 minutes of content or so. So look, in less than an hour, I'm going to show you how to earn more money, get recognized for your awesomeness, land on that fast track for promotion. But the best part is you don't have to be a jerk. You don't have to go out drinking with the boss on Friday nights. You don't need to suck up. You don't need to be someone you're not. Frankly, you can do all of this while maintaining a little bit of a work-life balance that lets you actually play with your kids on weeknights. You can do it all without selling your soul. Sounds good? All right. So I want to be clear. The secrets I'm going to reveal here, the shifts in the way you're going to think, they're universal. They will work if you're a lawyer who wants to double your hourly rate. They're going to work if you're a CEO who wants the board of directors to extend your contract. If you're trying to land an extremely exclusive client, this is all golden stuff, but I'm here to talk to the administrators of law firms. So before we dive in, let's just ask a few basic, simple questions. Does this sound like you? Do you see other people around you, either in other companies or in your own firm, who just aren't as good as you, but are getting that better job? They're getting the best salaries. They're getting promoted faster. Frankly, it just makes you burn a little bit inside. Do you watch people who are, frankly, morons, but they went to law school, and so you have no idea why he or she is in a leadership position at your firm, but you're not. That's absolutely what we're here to fix. If there are people that are younger than you who are coming into your company every day and you're secretly afraid they're going to pass you by, have you been passed over for promotion? And let's be frank, deep down, they're way less qualified than you, but they get the job anyway. You ever do a really incredible job for someone? You pour your heart, you pour your soul, you put in the 150-hour work week, and someone else hogs all the credit, right? No matter how hard you work, how hard you put away the hours, no matter how hard you put away the time, you just feel like you're up against a glass ceiling. You just get to that point where you've tapped out, and it's harmful. It's harmful to your salary. It's harmful to your career. Well, listen, I have good news, because that is not the real problem. You know what? None of those things that we've talked about just now, those aren't the problems that you're facing. The real problem is really simple. You're playing the wrong game. We're going to talk about what that means in just a second. But once you start playing the right game, here's what happens. You're going to get that promotion. Your bosses are going to see you in a whole new light. You're going to have a voice again. You're going to be impossible to ignore. Your opinions are going to be taken, and they're going to be taken seriously. You're going to be the first person they look to when they need a real answer, even if you don't have a legal background or a law degree. Your life is never going to be the same. You're going to have total control over the work you do, the salary that you command. You're going to be the indispensable rock star for your company, and your bosses are going to know it. This is absolutely the fastest way to vault your way into the C-suite, faster than you ever thought possible. So the bottom line is this. There are 5 shifts to managing crises, turn them into opportunities. 5 secrets to playing and winning the only game that counts in the workplace, and I'm going to walk you through them. All right. So there's only one thing I need you to understand here. 5 changes are going to catapult you up that corporate ladder. You're going to leapfrog the competition. Those poor souls down the hallway who think the only way they can get ahead is by burning away more and more and more of their life. The ones who are working until midnight 4 nights a week. Your family life is going to be better. You're actually going to be able to, like I said, spend time with your kids. You're going to, actually remember what it's like what your spouse looks like. It means you're going to spend your day doing things you love versus the things that you feel you have to do just to stay afloat. So master these shifts. You will be making more money. You're going to be doing it by working less hours, and you're going to be happier. So who am I? I know Josh introduced me, but let me break this down and why this works. So I'm Jeff Chatterton. I own a company called Checkmate Public Affairs. Now, I am not a career counselor. I don't have tools like DISC analysis or skill matrices, personality profiling, all of that stuff. The old school career guidance woo-woo thing, that's not me. For the last, 20 years now, I have been doing one thing and one thing only, and that is helping corporate teams in their darkest moments. I'm a crisis communication expert who gets called into a company in a high stakes, high stress situation. I interact directly with senior managers when they are at their most vulnerable. And for 2 decades, I have seen the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to talent. I took some of those best, baddest, and greatest stories and I put them all together and I wrote a best-selling book called Leaders Under Fire. One of the things I do when I work with companies is I help transform the corporate culture so that the good people end up in good positions instead of the morons ending up in that position. What that means for you is that over the years, I have developed a framework that you can start using today to make sure that you and your ideas get acknowledged, that you get the recognition you deserve, and that you can put yourself on the fast track for promotion. So it starts with these 5 shifts. And the very first mistake I see time and time and time again is people thinking that they're going to get promoted because they're good at their job. I'm going to say this really crystal clearly, and it's a harsh truth, but it's a truth that, with your permission, I think you need to hear. You will not, and I repeat, not get promoted because you are good at what you do. Now, some of you are probably wondering why I'd say that. And some of you are going to get all wise and introspective and say something like, they're not hiring you for what you've done in the past. They're hiring you for your future potential. Yeah, you know what? I get it. That's fine. You can insert all your forward management thinking, gobbledygook, thought leader-esque talk in there, but that's not it. It's really simple. Here's the real reason skills don't count. Skills get you in the door, and that's it, period. So if you're an accountant, you didn't get passed over for promotion because another candidate was better at accounting. If you're a marketing analyst, it's not like there's a better marketing analyst out there. Why is that any different if you're an administrator for a law firm? See, there are 2 main reasons why competency doesn't count. And the first reason is no one understands excellence in your current job any better than you, who are excellent. It's not that you're not awesome. You know who else thinks they are awesome? Your competitor. And guess who doesn't understand what you actually do? And that's the person who's in charge of that next promotion. They see your colleagues, they may have gone to law school, but for the most part, they have at best a cursory understanding of the day-to-day requirements of your job. And that's frankly okay. You do not want them to know all the ins and outs of your job. That's why they've hired you. You want to be left alone so you can focus on just being awesome, right? You're incredibly good at doing your thing. You make the trains run, you make the firm run efficiently, everyone bows to your awesomeness, all that stuff. That's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing because they don't know exactly what you do. So you rely on one thing and one thing only, and that's frankly their gut. Yeah, you heard me right. The overwhelming majority of whether or not you are considered successful at your job is essentially just based on how you make a person feel. Now, we're going to get more into that later. This absolutely comes back, but there is a huge way to take advantage of this. And that's the first reason competency doesn't count. The second is that your resume is key, but it's only a key. See, the thing that they don't know about what you do, no decent hiring manager is going to be making a hiring decision based on performance. All those key performance indicators you've been told to focus on your entire life, that stuff gets paraded out on your resume. You're reducing costs, you're lowering overhead, you're increasing, whatever metrics that they're using. That's great. All that does is unlock the door. If you don't have the right set of credentials, you don't have a key, you merely get rejected for the position. That's fine. But any locksmith is going to tell you a funny thing about keys. There's no such thing as a good key or a bad key. A key either works or it doesn't work, period. It unlocks a door or it doesn't unlock a door. It doesn't do a good job or a bad job. It either works or it doesn't, right? It's not like a key kicks open the door and sets it on fire and makes it its bitch, right? The resume is a key. It just lets you open the door. In other words, you will get rejected for your promotions based on your resume not having the right pattern just as often as you get accepted. And all those skill sets, all those hours, all that time you're spent working hard to become the very best at what you do, that will serve you in life, but it will not get you promoted. It merely allows you to open a door. So this is the world's easiest statistic to research. Go on LinkedIn and ask any corporate headhunter if they've ever hired or recommended a lesser qualified candidate. You tell me what percentage of them are going to say absolutely, because you know as well as I do that the answer is 100%. Everyone who has ever hired someone has hired someone who isn't necessarily the best qualified candidate for the role. I'm going to give you another example. Here's a story I see. I'm put it up on the screen. It's from over 3 years ago. This is not new stuff, kids. Guess who's discovered that the technical ability isn't the most important skill? This little company called Google. It tells you that the best engineer is not the one who's getting the promotion. The best lawyer isn't getting promoted. And at your firm, the best administrator isn't getting paid enough. Google, which is a tech engineering company, is hiring people based on things like empathy, confidence, credibility, and the ability to work with other people. Now, I get it. You can think that's ridiculous, but that's the way it is. So there's two ways you can respond to this. You can either just grit your teeth and suck it up and moan about it, or you can start cultivating what those skills are and get moved up the ladder. The truth is, right now, you're probably not doing those things because you're like, oh, that's just not me. All those lawyers, they're jerks. I don't want to have to be a jerk to get promoted. I guess I just don't have what it takes to win here. I'm telling you right now, you can be yourself. You can be exactly who you want to be, but I can show you how to position yourself in such a way that you will be on the fast track for promotion. And these are the skills that are going to help you do it. Now, what does this mean for the legal profession specifically? Because you're administrating an office in a field which for years has, let's be frank, depended on being the filer of paperwork. Let's take a look. Motions, briefs, reports, precedents. They're all a noble tradition. They're the cornerstone of the rule of law, But here's the thing. Your lawyers, the lawyers that you help run, the lawyers that you help their careers with, they're likely playing the wrong game too. Your lawyers are using billable hours as a metric of success, but guess who doesn't care about billable hours? Your clients. Especially now. The coronavirus pandemic is the biggest economic disruptor since World War II. Entire sections of society are going to see fundamental changes to the way we operate. We started to see this a little bit in the legal profession back in the 70s and 80s with the advent of contingency cases. The next big economic driver of a law firm, I don't know what that is. I'm not going to lie to you. I do know this. Your clients do not care about whether or not something was a billable hour. I wrote a best-selling book, and in that book, I tell people the best way to know if a consultant is out to screw you is to look for hourly fees. And that axiom holds true today. Hourly fees, I get it. They may not go away, but they are not the metric for success, and they're absolutely not the metric for client happiness. There is not a single client around who celebrates the fact that their lawyer worked harder than any other lawyer in the country. So here it is in summary. You're playing the wrong game. It's not enough that you're good at your job. If you want that next promotion, you need to be known and you need to be respected, which brings me to point number 2. You need to command attention and respect. Now, here's a shocking little secret you're not going to learn in business school. If you think people are going to respect you for doing awesome work, you're believing a myth. And I'm not saying this to be a jerk. I'm saying this to you out of caring and concern, because it's important. And I want you to hear it. If you want to be respected, if you want to get attention for your ideas, if you want to be heard, you need to command attention and respect. If you want credit where it's due, it's really simple. You have a choice. Either learn how to get the attention and the respect that you deserve, or you will spend all your time and effort complaining about the attention and respect that you never received. You have to seize attention and respect. What you've been doing, whether you realize it or not, is doing your job and doing good work and just hoping that intention and respect is somehow going to fall on you. That's not happening. Because if it was happening, frankly, you probably wouldn't be here at this point. You're here because you understand that something isn't working. This is what's not working. Here's the big problem. How do you go out and command attention and respect without being somebody? I'm not asking you to be Don Corleone in The Godfather here. I'm not going to be Tony Soprano. You don't want to be a loudmouth jerk. That's not going to help you. That's not going to help your people. It's not going to help your colleagues, and it's not going to help your clients. Frankly, you're not going to like that. That's not who you are. It's awful. So how do we do that? How do we command attention and respect and stay true to who you are? So there's a system, there's a framework that you can use. You can still even be an introvert and be quiet and the one in the corner, but you can be the person who quietly commands respect, who just commands attention. These are the powerful people. These are the ones who are quiet, but when they speak, people stop. They stop what they're doing and they go, huh, that's a good point. You can be that person, but to do that person, you need to start doing a few things. And I want you to take a real quick look at some advanced concepts here. And I specifically want to talk to you about being agreeable. Everyone likes the guy or the girl who is agreeable, right? That one that's easy to get along with. And I'm here to tell you, no, here's a hard truth. Being agreeable will sabotage your career. Now, there are 2 sources I want you to think about, but there's been a lot of studies. Psychology Today had a study by 3 different psychologists. The study, quote, concluded rather definitively, nice guys don't finish last, but they do finish a distant second when it comes to earnings. Now, that's what the media reports say about their study, but it's a cheap headline. I have proof that you can be disagreeable and still be nice. We don't want you to be someone you're not. The second source is really simple, and it's anecdotal, but ask a woman. Because if you have a female executive in your life, or if you're a female executive who is listening right now, chances are good the thought has crossed your mind at some point, am I being too nice? Now, I'm not trying to be controversial here. I'm merely shining light on the fact that there's a reason for the gender pay gap, why women get paid less than, and it's because on average, women are more agreeable than men. So when you look at the totality of what women get paid, it is much statistically a lot less likely for them to hold tight and push for a higher salary than guys. That's a big generalization, but I think you get my point. There lots of scientific proof that being agreeable is one of those traits that sounds good, but in reality is hurting you. What you really need to be doing is standing up for yourself. And again, remember, you're the best. You are the best at what you do. You know how to do things better. You know how to create a better system. You know who the best person on your team to conquer a particular project is. Leaders don't lie down. Leaders don't let morons dictate the rules. Leadership demands that you stand up, get noticed, and communicate your ideas. And that's not being a prick. That's not being a jerk. That's just being disagreeable. And that's a good thing. I'm not asking you to be someone you're not. I'm just asking you to stand up for yourself. When you have that feeling in the back of your neck that I may be getting a raw deal here, say something. I know that something is going to be hard. I know that it might be hard for you, but at the end of the day, I have the data to prove the people who stand up for themselves get paid more. How do you seize attention and respect without being a jerk? So how do we do it? One of the most profound ways, take a look at your body language. I'm going to show you some of the research by Dr. Joseph Morabian here. He's studied the impact of body language in everyday communication. Long story short, only 7% of what you say, what you communicate rather, is by the choice of your words. 38% of what a listener receives comes from the tone of those words. And this is a weird concept to communicate via a webinar. This would be much easier to do if I were there in person in front of you. But your body language, the way you stand, your physiology, it dictates over half of what you want to communicate. For example, and again, this is a tough concept to do over a webinar, but kind of work with me here. Take a look at this person. Now take a look at this person. Which one looks more promotable to you? Which one looks ready to be a leader? Which one is the one that you'd be prepared to stake your future on? Now, they're the same person, same model. You can use the exact same words. You can say the exact same thing, but you tell me which one you're more prepared to go to battle with. So you can be disagreeable without being a jerk. But when it comes to being truly authentic, there's an even greater superpower, and I'm going to share that with you. Shift number 3, I want you to use this secret weapon. So let's take half a step back. When someone's looking to promote someone, when someone is looking for leadership, what are they really looking for? Again, we talked about it. It's not about competency. We're just going to assume you're the very best in your company at what you do. You've ticked off all those boxes, and that's great. Ultimately, a hiring manager is looking at your resume, but what they're really asking themselves is, can they trust you? Can they trust you to do the job? Can they trust you to be a leader? Can they trust you to lead others? Can they trust you to perform in a way that will not embarrass themselves for having recommended you? Ultimately, this is all about trust. If they trust you, they can promote you. If they don't trust you, they'll never promote you. So that's really, really great news for us because, again, I've studied this. We've studied the things that go into trust. And so I'm going to tell you how to hack your way into getting trusted. So here's the thing. Your competitors are going to say things like trust is based on the wrong criteria. If you were to go and ask other people right now, what does it take to get trusted? They're going to say stuff like, oh, do good work, always meet deadlines, treat people fairly. All that, like I said, that gobbledygook that's out there. And those are good. Those are good qualities. That's not going to get you trusted. That's not what's really going to go on here. Some great research by Dr. Vince Calvello out of NYU and Columbia University looked into the emotional factors that go into trust. Now, I'm going to show you this pie chart. Now, that first slice of the pie here, the blue piece, that's honesty. Are you telling the truth? Now, that's great because that's important. You can't do this while you're lying. But even if you are telling the truth, only about 20% of your audience is going to trust you. Okay. Well, that red slice here, that's competency. That goes into things like work quality. Remember, you're the very best at what you do. Work performance, skill set, talent, competency. You can be the world's best financial analyst, the world's best legal administrator. You can have the best degree. You can have gone to the right schools. Heck, you could be published in all the trade magazines. That's awesome, but that's still only 15% of the pie. So hang on here. Now, if you've been paying attention, right now you're asking yourself, you're telling me I can be widely recognized as the world's leading expert, and they know I am telling the honest truth, but only 1/3 of the folks out there are going to choose to trust me? And I'm here to look you in the eye, if I could, and tell you that's exactly what I'm saying. Wow. Okay. So that orange slice, that's dedication. That's where things like devotion to the team, the willingness to work extra hours, the desire to see the company do well, to see your team do well, that's all kind of grouped up in dedication. Now, you can be the world's leading expert. You're willing and prepared to do the extra hours. Your work is stellar, but only half of your audience is trusting you. There's only one emotion left. And that means if you get it right, you're golden. But if you get this wrong, that's deadly. So by far and away, the single most important emotional factor when it comes to being trusted is empathy. Empathy, the ability to understand how someone else feels and the ability to communicate that you know how they feel. They don't want you to agree with them. They want you to understand how they feel. That's empathy. If you can do that well, that is stunningly powerful. When you can get hiring managers saying stuff like, you know what? She's not as qualified on paper, but I just feel she gets me. That's powerful stuff. Oh my goodness. Empathy is your secret superpower. The ability to understand how someone else feels and the ability to communicate that you know how they feel. Like I said, that's incredibly powerful stuff. Let me lay it out. If you can deliver empathy, that's your secret weapon. Empathy means your hiring managers feel like you understand them. Being empathetic means your team feels like you understand them. When you have an atmosphere of empathy, you can get away with IT glitches. You can get away with shipping snafus. You can get away with testing errors. Now, there are some good ways and some bad ways to deliver empathy. And frankly, I just don't have the time to get all of them in a brief webinar, but I'm going to show you one. An empathetic personality is going to ask genuine questions about how a situation feels to a supervisor. A cocky person faking empathy will tell a hiring manager what they think they feel without asking. Don't assume you know. That's cocky. Being unafraid to ask legitimate questions about solving a problem isn't cockiness, that's confidence. Now, when you get this right, this is massive. I cannot overstate this enough. If you run into me into the street 4 years from now and you say, hey, you did this online presentation and it was about crisis communications and getting promoted, and I'm going to look you in the eye and say, what's the one thing you remember? I want you to say the one word that's on your screen: empathy. All your competitors are running around throwing their life away by taking courses to add extra letters after their names. They're going drinking with the boss. They're working overtime until midnight, 2 or 3 nights a week. They're desperately trying to get noticed. They're busting their butts and schmoozing. You don't need to do any of that. To command attention and respect, you don't need to be smarter. You don't need to work harder. You need to be able to deliver confident empathy. Now, let's bring this to the reason why you're here in the first place. I know I promised I'd bring it around. I did say we're going to show you how to turn crises into opportunities. So, what if I told you you don't need to turn crises into opportunities? Crises are opportunities. They're not opposite terms, not at all. There's a bit of a stereotype in crisis communications training. And you may have heard the reference before, but it's a stereotype because, quite honestly, it's accurate. The Chinese word for crisis consists of two pictograms. One means danger, the other means opportunity. So I'm going to let that sink in just for a minute. The Chinese word for crisis is dangerous opportunity. The crises are self-evident. Your clients are upset because their businesses are failing. You have lawyers are upset because the clients are upset. The lawyers are pissy because the legal system has been thrown for a loop. We have lawyers dressing up as cats appearing on Zoom calls. Outside the actual courthouses, people are lining up to protest and shut them down. We've got protests going on across North America. The danger is self-evident. We are in the midst of the biggest economic disruptor since World War II. No one is feeling good about what's going on out there. That means the opportunity is everywhere. If you can be the trusted, calm voice of reason, oh my goodness, that is a superpower. If you can be the one who takes that frantic client and just calms them down and makes them leaving happy, you are invaluable. You're invaluable to the partners at your firm who just kept $1 million client. If you can take a panicking lawyer and reassure them that everything is happening exactly the way it should, you become a hugely trusted ally. And again, this isn't based on performance. This is based on how you make people feel. And why? Because again, you're good at your job. Lots of people are good at your job. That doesn't make you a superstar. You're a superstar because you know how to make people feel good. You understand how people feel. I cannot stress that enough. So the fifth secret, the fifth shift in the whole way I want you to analyze your operations, the fifth thing is just don't do this on your own. let me get real with you just for a minute. Let me just be bold-faced authentic, because look, a lot of people think that you can learn soft skills on your own, and I'm here to tell you, you can't do it on your own. I have spent 25 years perfecting the art of confidence. I am the one that gets called on to face cameras in the middle of an absolute shitstorm of headlines and controversy. I have spent a quarter of a century experimenting on what I call the science of swagger. And believe you me, the worst place you can learn this skill is with bitter experience. You do not want to be that person. That is not the way you want to learn. It is next to impossible to learn how to communicate effectively with yourself as the audience. It's that simple. It's like the best analogy I ever heard was that it's like trying to do a total makeover on yourself without using a mirror. You can't do it. While you figure that out, I want you to just ask how many promotions are going to pass you by because you are learning this the hard way. How many of your lawyers are going to lose clients because they haven't figured out how to empathize with their clients? How many projects are going to get assigned to someone else? Well, you could have generated a win, but you didn't know what you don't know now. That's what we are talking about. Again, let's get real. I'm a really great communications consultant. I'm a best-selling author. I have clients on 6 continents, but I don't know the first thing about plumbing. It would be insane for me to try to change out a toilet in my house. Now, I can be told that it's a simple job. I can think I know intuitively what I'm doing, but can you imagine the kind of mess I would be in if I screw that job up? That's what's going on out there right now. It is a crazy online connected world. Now, forget about the privacy of my own bathroom. We're talking about your entire career right now. Actually, it's your entire livelihood. It's more importantly than that, frankly, if we're going to get real, it's your family's livelihood, the ones who depend on you to make the right impression at a critical time. Do you really want to be making a mistake when it comes time for the creation of that next shortlist? Do your lawyers want to be making that mistake when it comes to a critical time for one of their most important clients? When the corporation and the law firm is considering a promotion to the next big corner office, do you want to be figuring this all out? Or do you want to be making mistakes along the way? No, you want to be the master, right? So in summary, if you want to be the legal administrator, executive level superstar, the game plan is really fundamental. Remember, competency doesn't count. You need to play the right game. In fact, what you need to be doing is commanding attention and respect. But you can, and you have to, do this while being completely authentic to yourself. Don't be someone you're not. Don't fake it. It won't work. Frankly, there is no fake it till you make it. You can't do that. The secret trick to doing this is be authentic, be real, focus on empathy. And again, don't do this solo. Don't even think of trying to do this on your own. When you adopt those shifts, it's life-changing. Your supervisors, your lawyers, the legal partners at your firm, your board of directors, they're going to adore you and not just begrudgingly respect you and pay your salary. We're not looking for begrudging respect. We are looking for adoration. You can stop being that quiet, underappreciated worker bee and start being respected for your skills, appreciated, understood, respected for your leadership. So it's taken me 2 decades in corporate boardrooms across America, but I have that proven framework. The secret to getting promoted isn't upgrading your skill set, it's upgrading your soft skills. There are proven ways to be disagreeable without being a jerk. And in fact, my team and I have identified 77 non-verbal ways to communicate trustworthiness. Now, this isn't abstract thinking. This is proven, identifiable science. So the next time you watch that jerk get promoted, guess what? Your bosses know they're promoting someone who's a jerk. They know that. They know. They don't like it either. But you're not giving them a choice. You need to upgrade your soft skills. And by doing that, the results are going to be phenomenal. So I promised I would show you how to stop working 20-hour workdays in a way to grind your way up the ladder. When you know the precise secret to building trust, you can write your own ticket here. You can make more money. You can get promoted sooner. You can work fewer hours. So let me ask you a question. What if you had absolute, rock solid confidence? What if you were that one person who could come in and fix a problem for your senior management and turn a total disaster into a total win? What if your workplace respected you and admired you? How much money do you think you'd make? How much more prestige would you have? How much faster would you get promoted? If you were someone who was just a generic worker bee, putting in lots of overtime, working for a paycheck, what do you think the difference is? I can promise you it's incredible. Just stop for a minute and think how much different your life would be, even if you were just making something like an extra $1,000 a week. Imagine what that means to your life. What is that? Is it a Tesla in your garage? Is it a 3-car garage instead of a 2-car garage? Look, you have a choice. Frankly, you know you've got a problem. Otherwise, you probably would have tuned out by now. So the choice you have is yours and yours alone. You can keep grinding away. You can work until 10 o'clock each night. You can work on the hamster corporate treadmill of overtime hours. And if you are running a firm that is based entirely on billable hours, I want you to ask, how much of your value is derived by filing paperwork in obscure legal motions, when really what your clients are looking for is results. Are you delivering results? Results for your clients or results for your lawyers and your colleagues? Or are you just running the treadmill? Are you just dealing with cranky colleagues, cranky clients, cranky bosses? Do you forget what your family looks like? Are you swimming in debt, wondering why life isn't like what you imagined it would be when you first started way back in college? You can be the master of one really critical concept. The most money goes to the leaders with swagger, not arrogance, not cockiness, not FaceTime with the boss, trusted confidence. The mid-level manager, the one that gets promoted to the board of directors, she's the candidate who has swagger. The lawyer with swagger, absolutely. This clearly works with lawyers because they're the ones who land huge clients and huge opportunities. But let's talk about you. You can be a hugely respected, inspirational legal leader. You can be the guy or the girl that people come to because you get them. You just get them. You can make more money. You can work less hours because you have a better skill set in one critical area. You have swagger, unmistakable, trustworthy confidence, and you can catapult over your competition for that next promotion. Now, here's how I can help with that. Now, my team and I have set aside some time in the next while to speak with you personally about how you can apply these ideas to your career starting today. Because let's be frank, I've talked about this stuff in broad strokes. The truth is, every situation is different. Every business is different. Every type of law firm is different. I think it's easier to just get on the phone and talk to you directly. The call is 100% free. Okay. On the call, I'm gonna get you clear on three things. Number one, first of all, if you're dealing with a workplace situation right now, we're going to talk about exactly what you need to do to leverage swagger and turn it into a win. We're going to break it down, show you how to do it, what you need to do. Number two, we're going to show you how to leverage that particular skill set to boost your long-term career. So you might be working for a law firm. Maybe you have a firm that could really use some help calming fears, managing expectations, maybe dealing with clients in a crisis. This is the skill set that can be applied to boost your career in about 20 different ways. We're going to look at your situation, talk about exactly how this applies to you, what you can do to get the career that you've only dreamed about. And number three, we're going to get you clear on exactly how to structure your messages. We're going to tell you exactly what you need to do and how to say to people, your workplace, your mindset, so you get paid what you're worth. Your law firm can get paid what it's worth. Now you're driving in revenue. You can be that completely indispensable ally for your firm. So here's how it works. You're going to book a call. We're going to spend about 45 minutes. I guarantee it will be the best 45 minutes you've ever spent working on your career, but there's a catch. The call is not for everyone. You have to be prepared to act with integrity, real integrity, with real true concern for your corporate and your company's well-being. Because remember, I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not going to be ignorant here. There's just no room for assholes. Not here, not in my school, not in my work, right? It means if you're focused on how to backstab your colleagues or being less than honest or withholding information and weaseling your way into getting credit for something, this isn't going to work. We're creating total victories here. If you're not prepared to be completely acting with integrity and completely honest, this isn't going to work. If you are running a firm that is dedicated to the concept of billable hours, running up the clock, using time as the only metric for worth, honestly, straight up, this may not work for you. But if you want to help create a firm of legal rock stars run by you, the head legal rock star, please book a call. 100% free, but here, you have to be looking to grow. You have to grow yourself, grow your personal situation, or grow your firm. If you were in a work environment, like I said, focused on the billables, focused on old school traditional law or academia, it also doesn't work in a heavily unionized environment where promotions are based on seniority or anything like that. This isn't going to work. But if you're in a competitive environment and you're sick of watching less qualified people jump ahead of you, this is perfect. Number two, you got to be permitted to vaulting down the career path with integrity. It's not about lying. It's not about deceiving people. It's not about how to be cocky and arrogant. It's not about acting someone like you're not. This is about taking the truth and wielding it like a weapon to command attention and respect. This is grabbing the reins of leadership and delivering empathy. Empathy to your clients, empathy to your lawyers, empathy to your opposing counsel, and just calming everyone down so that they respect you and they trust you. And if that's something that's going to benefit you, book a call right away. So straight up, why are we doing this? Because my time is valuable. So why do I give it away for free? Honestly, I just like doing it. It's fun. I bring it to executives like you. I love bringing a completely unfair advantage over your competition. I like watching that play out. Number two, straight up, I know that after we talk, you may want my help. Either for yourself or on behalf of some of the people you work with. I work with law firms across North America. If you want my help, we can talk about how to add you to the small list of new clients I take on each month. But that's not the reason. This is not a sales pitch. We're happy to have that conversation. I'm in business too. But here's the bottom line. If you want to get noticed, you want to be really trusted, you want to be the guy who can command the room with confident, trusted respect, here's the thing. You need to go to bouncebackevenStronger.com. When you go there, you're going to see a calendar that opens up. Pick a time that works for you. There's a very short questionnaire. It gives me a little bit of an idea about who you are and what's going on, and we can hit the ground running. BouncebackevenStronger.com. That's all you need to do, and you can hop on there, and we'll actually talk about this face to face. We'll hop on Zoom, and I can look you in the eye, and we can figure out what exactly it takes in order to get you into that position of trusted leadership, respect, and turning the massive living train wreck of a society we live in right now into a massive opportunity for you. We can get you there. I want to get you there. So this is normally the part of the webinar where I can open things up for a little bit of Q&A. Like I said, I'm offering a one-on-one call. Just go to bouncebackevenStronger.com. That being said, I will turn this over to Josh. I'm happy to answer a few questions or do whatever the all-hail powerful King Josh wants to do in terms of making the trains run on time, because we all know how important that is. Let me do this and turn off my slides. Thanks, Josh.
No, thank you, Jeff. Great information. Really pumped. I'm all excited. I've been taking my notes on the things that I need to work on to position myself better in the company. And I do have there's some couple of questions here, Jeff, for you. And the first one is, what advice would you give an administrator who would like to develop more empathy? They don't have it, or it's low. What kind of things can they start doing it to be more empathetic with the team, with the company, with the boss, with the owner?
So, book a time and we can talk about it. That's the first thing. Second one is don't be afraid of the questions. I'm a big believer that asking legitimate, meaningful questions about how someone feels isn't a state of weakness. I think that when you ask a question about, okay, so when you say this, are you upset about this because of this, or are you upset about this because of this? It gives you really powerful insight as to the methodology and the thinking behind who it is you're talking to. That does two things. A, they instinctively feel like you get them. B, it gives you a better opportunity to put yourself in their own shoes, right? Really, at the end of the day, empathy is just about how can I communicate that I know how you feel. Um, there's
Do you see, Jeff?
I
Do you see, Jeff, people that they're like, you know what, I I struggle. I care, like I really care about the company, or I care about the clients, or I care about my boss, but the empath, and I think I'm someone who's empathetic with all that, but it doesn't get across like that. Do you think one of the biggest challenge that people really care and they have all those values that you mentioned, but they are bad listeners? Maybe they haven't developed the listening part to a high level. Is that something that you see happening out there?
when if you're a bad listener, that says you don't care. It's really tough to care about someone without actually paying attention and listening to what it is they're saying. Because, and I think what we are seeing, quite frankly, and I think we see it not just at the internal boardroom level, but I think we see it on the mass Fortune 500 corporate level, and I think we're seeing it more and more and more and more across North America right now, well, across the globe, just because of the COVID situation, are people who don't ask the questions and who think they know why they're upset, and they think they really, really care, and it turns out they're caring about the wrong thing. Um, you can come up with example after example after example, but we're in a polarizing environment. I'm in Ontario, Canada, and Ontario is in the middle of their third lockdown. Um, that's why my hair looks like a mop. I can't go and get a haircut, and and you talk to people, are you sick and tired of the lockdowns yet? Are you sick and tired of this COVID situation? And people say, oh, I'm so frustrated. That doesn't mean you care about their feelings. They may be frustrated because they can't get a haircut. They may be frustrated because they're pissed off that they have to work from home and their kids are loud. They may be frustrated because people aren't being respectful enough of the lockdown procedures. Maybe they're frustrated because people are being too respectful of the lockdown procedures. There's a lot of things going on out there. And just because you hear what someone says doesn't mean you know how they feel. And that's where words aren't enough to communicate for us. And that's where there's a whole process and a procedure I go through. I tend to sit people down in a 1-day training session and actually blow them through. We have a ton of fun with it. 1 day, boardroom, 6 to 12 people in a room, put them through, grill them, make them perform, turn them into empathetic, caring leadership rock star superstars. It's one of the favorite things I do.
Jeff, do you see, because this is something that happened to me once, that I was in a leadership position for a company. One of the first opportunities that I got, I think one of the superpowers that I've had in the past is that empathy. But at this particular company, I think the owner of the company, the president of the company, saw that more as a weakness than something that would bring value. When I started, he saw it as he told me, I see you're gonna do a great job. You have this, and this, and this, but you have one weakness, and he said you have a good heart, and I relate that to being having empathy, with the employees, having empathy with the clients. At the end of the day, it did work out. At the end of the day, that weakness that he saw was also like you said it was a super strength, because the commitment from the team was there. The clients were happy. Everything worked out at the end. But at the beginning, it was challenging. With this particular president, for some reason, he saw that as a weakness. Have you seen? Is that something normal, or?
Let me push back on you gently and ask and here I am asking the question.
I'm taking advantage of you, Jeff.
Do you think that your weakness was in displaying empathy, or was your weakness in being too agreeable?
That's a great question. That's a great question, because he was worried that employees were going to take advantage of me
By being
being
too agreeable.
right. Yes, but at the same time, the Korean culture is strict and
Yeah.
tight, and so it was.
So let me use a completely off the wall example here, and I'm a guy, and so I love watching good movies like anyone else, and I'm going to go
Yes.
back to Band of Brothers or Saving Private Ryan. Tom Hanks in Saving Private Ryan. Everyone who's ever seen the movie, he was grizzled. He cared about his men, but he would not put up with bullshit, and he would send them to their death if that's what was required of him. But he
Yes.
cared about them, and they knew he cared about them. Same with Dick Winters and Band of Brothers. You think about all those big examples in life, right? That's the difference between being empathetic and understanding how people feel and being agreeable,
I love it.
right?
I love.
Yeah.
That's a great point. You know what? And I do think that I was a little bit too nice, and his advice also helped me distinguish that and make sure that I was, hard in certain areas, and not being, not people were not taking advantage, and being careful at that line, making sure that people are not taking advantage of you putting yourself in their shoes and all that, because some people will try to take advantage when they see that. But I think you put it in a great way with that example that you just gave us, and that's something that I learned to develop as well along the way, and kind of balance out, the work that I was doing for the company.
When it works well, it's a superpower.
I love it.
Yeah.
Jeff, well, those are the questions that we have. And I want to say thank you again. I think it was a great talk. I have all my notes and the things that I need to work on. And we talked about having you on a future episode for the podcast and Administrator Nation. I'm super looking forward to that.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes. So I'll be seeing you then. Everyone who's attending today, you already have Jeff's information. Make sure to reach out for that special consulting that he's offering. Go to his website, LinkedIn, social media. And I want to inform everyone about what's about to happen and what's coming for the next talk. So before we continue with our program, I want to say thank you again to some of the partners that we brought in for this summit to make it possible to let more people know what we were doing and, spread the word. And I want to start first with thanking ALA, the Association of Legal Administrators, San Diego chapter. I had a chance to talk with them. They're great people. I'm part of the association as a partner, and we have a special message for them today.
My name is Cynthia Barron. I am the current president for the San Diego chapter of the Association of Legal Administrators. The Association of Legal Administrators, or ALA, was founded in 1971 to provide support to professionals involved in the management of law firms, corporate legal departments, and government legal agencies. It has grown to over 8,100 members worldwide, including 89 chapters in more than 30 countries. ALA is a premier professional association connecting leaders and managers within the legal industry. We provide extensive professional development, collaborative peer communities, strategic operational solutions, and business partner connections. One of my favorite events is the annual conference that the ALA has every year. It's filled with amazing speakers and educational sessions. It's such a great event. I invite you to get to know ALA and look forward to seeing you in a meeting soon. Here's what some of the members have to say about ALA.
Hi, my name is Patty Groff, and I'm the Regional Administrative Director for the West Region of Dentons. I am also a 30-year member of ALA. I just received my 30-year Distinguished Member Pin from ALA this week. I am a past president of the San Diego chapter of ALA, and I'm also a past president of ALA International. I joined ALA for the education. I figured it would help me as I went through my career, and it did nothing short of that. It was invaluable in my career and professional growth over the last 30 years. But I have to tell you, just as importantly, was all of the friendships that I've made, the friendships and the relationships that I've built and developed over the last 30 years, really worldwide, have been incredible and have grown me on a personal level that I could never have imagined. And so I just encourage anyone who is interested in ALA to consider it. It has been the rock for me over the last 30 years. Thank you so much.
Thank you again, ALA. And if you are interested in attending one of their events, you're not a member yet of ALA, I really encourage you to reach out to them, connect with them, and you can attend for free one of their events. That's what I did. And from the first day that I arrived there, I felt like I was in the right place with the right people. And I've really enjoyed being part of ALA. Really encourage you to do that. I also want to say thank you to Call Private Bank for being partners for this special event. They work really closely with law firms, giving personalized, high-level service. Becky Mendoza is the branch director for the San Diego downtown branch. Hi, Becky. Thank you for the support, and also thank you to La Raza, a special association for La Raza, for Hispanics and the legal industry, and you definitely want to check them out. I'm also part of La Raza, and I'm so happy to be able to connect with so many great people that are part of that association. So what's going to happen next, we are going to have a great speaker come up at 3:40 p.m. At 3:40 p.m., we are going to have Tracy Pearson, who's going to be talking about implicit bias in a legal practice. She has a lot of experience in the legal industry, years of experience in many different areas. She's going to bring a lot of value to today's summit, and we are really looking forward to that. So make sure to stay connected. You know, right now, if you want to go get some food, get a drink, whatever you need to take care of, but make sure that you are here back at 3:40 p.m., and I will see you then. And we are back to Administrator Summit 2021, adding knowledge and value to your firm. I hope you get a chance to disconnect a little bit, maybe unwind, get some food, get some drink. Maybe by now it's already 3:45. You're out of work or things are a little bit slower, and this is going to be the perfect time for what we have in store for you. So, our next speaker has almost two decades of experience bringing and defending complex legal matters on behalf of litigants and state and federal courts. She is a trained workplace and child welfare investigator. Her legal experience spans 18 major practice areas. She has owned and operated small to medium-sized law firms, as well as a mediation practice, and understands. In addition to her legal experience, she has served in faculty and staff roles in large and small universities and colleges on both the East Coast and West Coast. She's seen sophisticated issues that elude organizations until crisis occurs. She is highly skilled in cold reading problems to find solutions involving accountability and leadership. She is dynamic and a natural teacher and also a passionate helper. As a coach and expert in organizational change, she grounds her work in reflective inquiry, helping to identify and resolve what is impending goal attainment. She is also a legal analyst and a host. She is represented by DBNA, and with her talk, Implicit Bias in the Legal Practice, please welcome Tracy Pearson.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. And good afternoon and good evening and whatever time of day it is, wherever you are. So I am going to talk a little bit about implicit bias in legal practice. But I want to begin with acknowledging that talking about implicit bias and related concerns can bring strong emotions for some, and I would ask that you please focus on your own needs and self-care. I understand that this talk is being recorded and will be available for viewing later. So if you can't listen or watch now, I hope you will later. I also invite you to ask any questions that you have, and at the end, I'll do my best to respond to them. You can reach out to me directly as well. So the information that I'm presenting today comes from research that I'm doing on implicit bias in workplace investigations. I am grateful for the opportunity to share some of it with you, and I hope it helps you in the work that you're doing. So I'm going to quickly share my screen, I hope. And I'm not going to rely on slides for the entire talk, but I do want to share a few things with you. Implicit bias or unconscious bias seems like it's been part of our vocabulary for quite some time, but that actually isn't the case. What I did was I went and I looked at what search terms were being used. There's a tool called Google Trends, and I went as far back as the beginning of former President Barack Obama's presidency. Google Trends uses a scale 0 to 100, with 100 being the most searched term. And it isn't until June 2020, which coincides, unfortunately, with the death of George Floyd, that we see implicit bias being a curiosity to the general public. So while implicit bias has been researched since 1954, it has become part of the everyday contemporary lexicon only recently. I often hear people use words and they have no idea what they mean. I don't know if you have that experience in your professional lives. For me, the word synthesis drives me absolutely crazy. When people are using it, they really mean to summarize or paraphrase. So one of the things I want you to walk away with today is knowing what implicit bias is. And by knowing what it is, you'll know what it isn't. A simple definition of implicit bias is unconscious thoughts that guide our actions. I don't really like that definition. I don't think it's accurate. Because implicit bias is a complex problem that folks look for simple solutions to fix, and then they're upset that they can't figure out why we can't fix it. When I was practicing law and supervising staff, I insisted that employees know the why of what they were doing. I found that if I could explain why and the person could understand that, not only did the task become important to them as it was important to me, but it also provided an anchor in thinking about how to remember it or to learn. So when we think about implicit bias, I sometimes think to anecdotes as a way to help people understand. And I want to sort of take this out of the ordinary context that we talk about it in. Unfortunately, I don't have all the time in the world, so I can't give you all the fascinating anecdotes that I would use. I can give you a few, and I want to share a personal one. I live in Los Angeles, but like most of the people who call LA their home, I am from somewhere else. On its surface, LA is the land of beautiful people, and I didn't feel like people saw me the way I felt inside when I got here. And I have been chasing a health problem, a health issue for a while. The research is copious on how implicit bias affects medical care and doctors. Doctors have bias too, and that could impact the healthcare people receive. I had basically given up hope, and I was tired of asking for help. I went to see my new primary care provider when I got here to LA, and I didn't even bother to bring up the issue. But she noticed that something was wrong, and she didn't think things were quite right. And she sent me to a specialist who I met with, and he said, "Yep, you have a medical problem, and I'm going to fix it." So this is what I looked like in 2018 and what I look like today in April of 2021. When I arrived here, I was 254 pounds. The specialist said, "You won't believe me that I can fix this. And this isn't your fault." He said, "You're going to get angry. You're going to see that people treated you differently." And he was right. People did treat me differently. And it's, in my mind, still a challenge to reconcile the difference. Implicit bias doesn't just apply to only legally protected characteristics. The largest resistance to understanding and addressing implicit bias is feeling like one is faulted, like it's coming from a place of malice. You have implicit bias. We all have implicit bias. I have implicit bias. Whether it's race, gender, sex, sexual orientation, weight, hair, clothing, accents. Do you exercise and live an active lifestyle? Are you a vegetarian? I can spend hours listing the ways in which our opinions unconsciously invade our decision-making. I want to assure you that when it comes to implicit bias, it's not your fault. Why? Well, because your brain was designed to do this. There's a process that your brain uses, and it was designed in simpler times, and that is unfortunately our challenge. Brains learn through a process called encoding. Simplistically, that occurs through two major processes. One is through the use of pattern detection, and the second is through probability determination. Your brain is gathering information 24/7. While you sleep, while you sit here. It's why you're so freaked out over missing your meeting with your demanding supervisor that you can't find your keys. You've checked inside the refrigerator multiple times because, after all, that's where you store your keys, right? But it's when you sit down and you let go of the fear that your brain pulls information from a basket and you discover that the keys are in your hand. How many people have done that? I do it. You probably feel like an idiot when you do it. I feel like an idiot when I do it. So your brain is on a mission to gather information. And when it's trying to learn, it collects information and puts it in baskets, like putting like information with like information. It's not like this, but it's like that. It's doing it without you even knowing it. Imprinted on your brain and your DNA is survival. Everything alive is trying to survive. The coronavirus is trying to survive. It's mutating to try to beat our efforts to keep it from finding a host so it can replicate and then find a new host. Our brain is trying to ensure that we survive. It's looking for evidence of danger. Let me give you an example. I don't know about your house, but in mine, we don't necessarily trust the milk that we put in the cereal bowl. We always check if you've ever had a mouthful of sour milk once, maybe more than once. Your brain is probably like mine and you're wary. Milk is not necessarily trustworthy. That's an example of pattern detection, and that's how it works. This happened once, so it might happen again. So I should be careful, and I should have my husband drink the milk first. I do that. So your brain does a second process in addition to pattern detection. It does probability determination. It's like a high stakes game of blackjack. It's using information it knows to guess what may happen to help you figure out what to do next. I know this because researchers conducted an experiment where they asked participants to guess which of the 3 photographs was going to be shown next as participants' brains were scanned by an MRI. For every right answer, they received a nominal sum of money. What they discovered was that the brain was engaging in pattern detection and probability determination simultaneously. In the lab, the brain was categorizing information and using the information to guess what comes next. It was doing it faster and faster, attempting to create rules. That the brain does this was super duper helpful when we were afraid of this beautiful creature. It works in a lab where we're introducing limited variables, but it doesn't work in the real world. The brain, as much of a wonder as it is, hasn't caught up to doing it on the fly. And there are way too many variables going on in contemporary society, and the lived experience is simply too complex. So the definition of implicit bias or unconscious bias that I want you to take away with you is to think about it as it's a changeable behavior rooted in neuroscience, where the human brain, without malice, quickly, automatically, and unconsciously applies a trait to an individual based on the generalized beliefs about a group of people because of a shared similarity. So I want to, let's see, I just want to make sure we get rid of our slides here. This might just take me a quick second. Great. So I want to think about implicit biases intersection with the workplace in your law firms. Let's start with hiring. Artificial intelligence is excellent technology. It is invading our lives in a number of ways, and invading in a way that I guess I wouldn't say pejoratively, but it's something to be wary of. It's only as good as the people who program it. Amazon found that out when they discovered that the screening process they were using favored male candidates and women were being shut out of jobs. The system that they used was built around programming that was derived from male resumes. Not to be pejorative in any way, but garbage in, garbage out. They brought in information that wasn't inclusive, and at the end of the day, the process didn't work and they needed to pull it and rework it. So one place to look is your screening mechanisms. If you're using an outside firm for your recruitment, as many large firms do, what mechanisms are they using and how are they ensuring that their process accounts for implicit bias in hiring? If they don't have an answer, then you need to educate them or call me and I will. Researchers found that implicit bias permeates the hiring process And I'll give you an example from the medical field, again, pointing to medicine, because there is a lot of research there. Researchers found that women were not being hired into academic medicine and instead were obtaining jobs in family practice. Researchers were curious about what was causing this and what might be a factor. And what they landed on was they looked at reference letters. And what it revealed was that women were more often described in terms of what they call soft skills, emotional intelligence, having a good bedside manner, compassionate, caring, while men were more often described using technical terms, and their skills as practitioners were highlighted. So what do we take from this? When it comes to hiring, you want to be really clear about the criteria you're using to decide the best candidate. Write it down. What are the objective benchmarks you're looking for? And follow your plan. You also want to conduct training on the hiring process, expectations, and how to do it. Now, I know that's easier said than done with partners where time is money. Well, you want to remind those in decision-making positions that 15 out of 20 lawyers hired leave. 15 out of 20. That's a lot of work for you. That's a lot of money for them. You want to calculate the cost of your recruitment. It can cost about up to 200% of a person's salary when you take into account all the costs. It isn't just the payment to the recruitment firm. It is the time it takes to onboard. It is the time it takes to train. It's the time that it takes the associate or the attorney, the partner, the junior partner to help train the new lawyer. It's the time that it takes to do the benefits. It's the time that it takes to do every single thing that you would do when you're recruiting and onboarding an employee. There's money associated with that. If you're doing that repeatedly, your money is walking out the door and something needs to change. Now, a word about objective benchmarks. They can be implicitly biased as well. For example, students who didn't attend Yale, Harvard, Stanford, University of Chicago, or any number of Ivy League schools are more likely to be non-white. Students without the Order of the Coif may come from less advantaged backgrounds, may have had to work to help out families or had health issues, and yet many are going to be darn good lawyers. I want you to please think about, what does it mean qualitatively to be a good lawyer as it pertains to the law firm you work for? Beyond billables, what do you want the client experience to be? What do you want for the skills and experiences and lived life knowledge to be for the people that you work with? Now, I've known in my day bad lawyers. I've known in my day good lawyers. And I have known in my day lawyers who had really great grades, but they couldn't practice out of a paper bag. I had to suffer once, and I mean suffer, through a trial supervising an associate where I sat second chair and I watched the opposing lawyer, who on paper looked fabulous, and he couldn't ask a question or introduce an exhibit or impeach a witness without drawing an objection. I felt bad for him and I felt bad for his client. You need to define what it is to be a good lawyer, what it is to be the type of lawyer that your law firm wants. And then you have to find a way to measure it with your eyes wide open to implicit bias leaching its way in. The same thing goes for performance evaluation. What's the criteria? Is it objective? How are you measuring it? Is the criteria inherently biased? Women who take time off because of pregnancy may find themselves ranking lower. Disabled people who have taken time off for health reasons may find themselves ranking lower. The ABA and bars around the country have tried to address discrimination in the delivery of legal services. So I'm only going to touch on that just to say that you need a process for considering the clients and cases you accept. Having been a practicing lawyer, I generally helped everyone I could. I owned the place, so I had that privilege. I provided reduced fees on occasion. I did a lot of pro bono work. But If you're a larger outfit and you have a committee that helps you decide whether to take a case or not, you're going to want to look at how you're doing it. Lastly, I want to turn your attention to problems in the workplace. One wish that the world were full of sunshine and butterflies, but it isn't. Where you have people, you have conflict. And that's great for lawyers, except if the conflict is in the law firm. Now, law firms are generally seen as rough and tumble places. Lawyers take on the burden of their clients, and there's immense pressure to perform perfectly. Failure can be costly at times. So there has been a culture of accepting certain behavior and conduct within a workplace for reasons said or unsaid. Employees are feeling more empowered to step forward and report concerns, and those should be taken seriously. I'll put this in your head. In sexual assault or sexual harassment cases, it's generally accepted that the survivor wouldn't report if they didn't believe that the conduct happened to them. The process of pursuing redress is scary and it's difficult. Now, I want you to switch gears. And I want you to think about an employee who comes forward and reports a concern unrelated to sexual assault or harassment. It's equally scary and difficult. Every employee who steps forward is afraid to be fired. But the fear of what they believe is happening to them is even more scary than the fear of being fired. That's why they're telling you. One of my pet peeves, and I acknowledge this is something that I have to be aware of, is the defense of poor work performance, as if not doing your job to what is oftentimes some unknown, unarticulated standard is justification for maltreatment. More importantly, what is overlooked is that the maltreatment may be causing the poor performance. There is oodles, and I mean oodles, of research that supports this fact. Employees who experience maltreatment also cost organizations lots of money. They cost them a lot of money in absenteeism and poor productivity, in being away on disability or workers' comp. Never mind the larger issues of resolving those disputes with the organization. So it's important for you and your team to be knowledgeable and aware of the implicit bias that can inform your next steps when an employee comes to speak with you. You want them to come speak with you. That's important. You want to be able to resolve those concerns. So hopefully they aren't one of the 15 that leave. Hanging like a gigantic umbrella over what's a seemingly big umbrella of implicit bias is a term that you might not have heard of: homophily. Now, homophily is a preference for people who are like us. When hiring, conducting performance evaluations, delivering services, and even workplace conflict, we're driven by homophily. Have you ever heard terms like good fit, family? Organizations have cultures, and those cultures don't change unless the people change what they're doing. If your law firm organizes itself around a concept like good fit or family, I would posit you want to rethink those ideas. Diversity is important, but what happens is that we invite people into our organizations under the auspices of diversity. And then more often than not, we then ask them to shed that diversity to blend into the organization. Maybe you've heard these terms: assimilate, melting pot, conform, subscribe to, seeing eye to eye, hit it off, feeling rapport. If we want to combat implicit bias in workplaces, and we want to create environments where our employees want to stay, we need to remember that you can't blame the human brain for being what it is. What you can do is be accountable to learning more and for thinking critically and reflectively about your own values and actions and whether they match. I have found it's often the case that where there are culture issues, that there are stated values that just simply don't match the organization's actions. If we want employees to stay and we want to be profitable and be effective organizations, we need our values to match our actions. It begins with analyzing what we want and how to plan to get there. But most importantly, we need to be honest and have a willingness to think critically about what we do and be willing to change. It's a lot of hard work, but in the end, it's better for the organization overall. It's better for the employees, including you, who have to do a lot of that recruitment work. And most importantly, it's better for your clients, who are the reason for why you exist. Without clients, there would be no need to have a law firm. So those are some basic concepts and ideas about implicit bias and how it finds its way into your law practices. There is so much more that I could be addressing and talking about, but it's a big issue. And I think that every organization is different and has different concerns. Organizations in Northern California are going to be different than organizations in Southern California, that are going to be different than organizations in Boston. Even in large firms where you are a multi-international organization, you're going to have different issues, and implicit bias is going to find its way into the conduct and thought processes that go on in each of those different offices in a unique way. And so it's something that requires time and attention and care to understand. Sometimes it's helpful to hire someone to help you think through those processes. What isn't helpful in dealing with these issues is cookie cutter approaches. If you do hire in a consultant to help you, make sure that they're tailoring it to your concerns, your needs, your culture, your environments. I recently was talking to a colleague who similarly shared concerns about the outcome of some work being done and on culture work. And the underlying assessment was, if you use a cookie cutter approach, don't expect to get anything but sort of vanilla, ideas that are really not effective in resolving the issues that are within your organization. And again, you have to be honest and you have to be willing to do the work. It's one thing to feel pushed or compelled to do the work, because that seems to be where things are being driven. But no organizational change is going to be effective unless the people at the top of the organization actually want to do the work and actually can do the work. And that's where you come in. You need to get buy-in, and you need to make it something that's important to the folks that are making these decisions. You need to make it real for them. You need to do it with data. You need to show them, what does it cost when we have these problems? What is the possibility of what we gain from resolving these problems? And I don't want to send you away with some sort of sunshiny Pollyanna perspective that you'll be able to fix everything. You won't. You're always going to have issues. The goal here is to make it better. I come from a place, philosophy that you hire employees because they have value, and you brought them in because you wanted them. And if you want to continue to have employees, if you're a leader within an organization, it's up to you to make sure that they come to work every day wanting to be there, wanting to commit themselves to the mission and vision of that organization. You have responsibility. And part of your responsibility and your roles is to get the folks that are in higher leadership positions to also believe what you believe. And the best way to do that is with data and with thinking about these things as problems that impact real people. And if you can do that, you stand a better chance of being successful and impacting people's lives. There is no question that an employer can have a tremendous impact on an employee's life. And they can do it in a great way, or they can do it in a really awful way. And you want to be on the good side of that equation. You want to be able to go home at night knowing that you made a difference. You made a difference for the people that you work with, and you made a difference for the people that they work with, which is the clients of the firm. So I'm happy to take any questions that may have come in, and and we can go from there.
Great, Tracy. Thank you for all the information that you've been sharing with us. I've been taking notes. A lot of things new that I've learned today, and definitely we're going to put in consideration. One of the questions, Tracy, that we have is, what recommendations do you have on this subject for training? How long should it normally last? What kind of training can people take for this?
Sure. The best training is training tailored to your organization. So my recommendation is you want to bring somebody in who knows how to do that training, who can listen to the concerns that you have and what you're trying to achieve. Folks that have the cookie cutter modules, while online LMS type learning is great, it is not the most effective for dealing with these concerns, because again, every culture within an organization is different. Even in very large law firms, in an office where you, in a single location, let's say in the LA office of a multinational or multi-international law firm, you can have different departments with different cultures. So the first thing is to bring in somebody who can listen to your concerns and develop a training plan for the people there. Sometimes training is effective when it is something that is, done it's sort of a flyby. You go to a staff meeting and you do some training there. Sometimes it can be effective to do a larger training. There's a lot of jokes that go around about, implicit bias, unconscious bias, diversity training. Oh, I got to go to it. There's going to be somebody standing there with a PowerPoint. And it's not effective. What I will say about the time frame effectiveness piece is there is research on that. And what it says very clearly is that 20 minutes is too short. Nothing's going to happen then. Whereas, 2 hours, you start to have some impact. The types of training is also very interesting. There is sort of what I would call traditional direct training, where you bring in a trainer to talk, to engage. And, this obviously, as I talk about this, sort of assumes sort of a homogenous environment. And that person, does a skills training or a theoretical type training. The most effective training, what it does is it combines that direct training with an experiential training piece. And what that looks like is one research study tested all the various experiential types of training, including playing dodgeball with a group of people that were not like yourself in one way or another. And what happened is that the person who was the one that was sort of being trained, let's say, started to look at the other side, the people that they normally would have been with, as sort of the enemy, and started to feel a kinship with the people who where the implicit bias might have been directed previously. Now, this is lab training, okay? This is sort of testing things out to see what works. And what we take from that is that you want to have training that gets people into the community, gaining experience, working with other people, working with people that aren't like themselves. And when we talk about training, we don't necessarily mean in those terms, sort of formalized instruction. What it is, we're going to do a community project every year. And we're going to go and we're going to adopt an organization. And that organization is going to be an organization that is not like us. Okay, it's an organization that is very diverse, has groups of people that may be at risk, that are struggling, that don't have the level of privilege that we as lawyers at this law firm have. And we're going to adopt that organization. And we're going to develop a relationship with that organization. And we're going to develop a relationship with their clientele. And they're going to develop a relationship with our folks. And we're going to work with each other. And we're going to work on joint projects. We're going to do all sorts of activities together. And that's an example of that dodgeball in sort of an environment that actually is practical, where it isn't just you're giving, but you're getting. You're getting from that too. The people that are part of your organization are getting a self-satisfaction of helping other people that maybe are less off than themselves, contributing to the community. And no, we're not talking dollars. We're talking, people hours, and developing relationships and learning their stories. When I got on this video and I started to talk, people looked at me, right? But when I put the picture up of what I used to look like, I shared a piece of myself and hopefully developed a deeper connection with somebody out there. And I think that that's important. If we're going to make some headway in developing communities where there is less implicit bias, or when we're making it more direct so we can deal with it, then you do that by developing relationships and learning that, yeah, you know what, they are just like me. We are alike. We're humans. We have the same needs. We have the same worries. We have the same things that we love. And you do that by engaging and learning from each other and building relationships and building rapport. So if there's one piece that I could recommend profoundly, it would be, there has to be an experiential piece to it. You just can't bring in someone like myself to lecture at you. It doesn't work. It doesn't stick in the long term.
Great, Tracy. Thank you for all that information. And your website, is there any other place where you recommend that people can get a hold of you, maybe LinkedIn, or is your website the best option?
You can use LinkedIn. You can use Twitter at Tracy Explains. And you can also go to my website where there's a contact us page.
Great. Tracy, once again, thank you for all your knowledge and experience that you share with us today. We're super grateful here at the summit, the whole team and everyone who's attending. And we are about to wrap this up. It's been definitely pretty exciting. This is the first time that we organize, that we do something like this. And it was a challenge. I'm not going to lie. It was a challenge. We didn't know exactly what to expect. But what I can tell you is that we are really happy with the results. We are happy with our speakers that we had, and with the feedback that we've been getting from the administrators who have attended this summit. Some probably couldn't make it, so we will be sending out the link for the summit with the recording of all the talks, and you will have access to that. Maybe you have somebody in your firm that you think might benefit from listening to one of the talks. Maybe you have a friend who's an administrator at another firm, and maybe they couldn't make it, and you want them to listen to a certain talk or all of the summit. You will be able to do that. So check out your inbox for that information. I invite you to stay connected with the things that we do by going to administratornation.com. That is administratornation.com, where you will be able to listen to our episodes that we have on the podcast, connect with the community, be able to ask questions, share information, and build those relationships that have a lot of things similar to the things that you go through. So Thank you for everyone who attended. Thank you to all the speakers who participated, and a really special thanks to our team of marketing and everyone who's behind this effort. Really appreciate all the hard effort. And thank you, obviously, to Call Private Bank for participating, to La Raza, to ALA, the Association of Legal Administrators, especially the San Diego chapter, and obviously to our main sponsor, which was InterraCloud, an IT company who helps with outsourcing all the needs that you have. If you need support on site, if you need remote support, if you need cloud backup, if you need to improve your phone systems, a lot of the firms that we contact, I want to share this with you really quick. A lot of the firms, when we're calling them, we notice that it just goes to a voicemail. That human touch is being lost. One of the speakers talked about customer experience, and we see that with the pandemic happening, that has been one of the biggest challenges: communication, not having the right phone systems in place. That's something that definitely InterraCloud can help you with. So there's a lot of solutions and a lot of experience that InterraCloud has when it comes to helping law firms achieve higher levels of success through technology. So make sure to go to their website, interracloud.com, check them out. And thank you on my behalf. Once again, I'm Josh Madera, and I hope this was of value and it did bring some type of knowledge to your firm. Thank you, and see you next time.